Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is screaming. Someone else is crying silently, gripping a hospital bed rail with white knuckles, counting seconds until the next wave of agony passes. Another person is taking their third painkiller of the day, wondering if the burning ache in their back will ever stop, if they'll ever feel normal again. Pain is humanity's most universal experience. More common than love, more persistent than hunger, more feared than death itself. Every person who has ever lived has felt it. Every civilization has fought it. Every generation has searched desperately for ways to make it stop. Pain has shaped human history more than wars, more than love, more than any other force on earth. But here's something that will shock you. For 99% of human existence, there was nothing we could do about serious pain except endure it, pray for death, or lose consciousness from the sheer overwhelming agony. No anesthesia for surgery, no painkillers for childbirth, no relief for broken bones, infected wounds, or dying patients. People lived, suffered, and died in agony that we can barely imagine today. They bit on leather straps during amputations, drank themselves into stupors to numb toothaches, and often chose death over medical treatment because the cure was more agonizing than the disease. Then, 177 years ago, on October 16, 1846, everything changed forever. A young dentist named William Morton stood in a Boston hospital operating theater and did something that seemed impossible. Something that violated every law of nature and medicine that humanity had ever known. He made pain disappear completely. That day, modern medicine was born. That day, humanity won its first real victory against its oldest enemy. That day, the screaming stopped. Today, you can walk into any pharmacy and buy dozens of different pain relievers designed for specific types of discomfort. You can have major surgery and wake up comfortable, even refreshed. You can give birth without screaming, break a bone without fainting, survive cancer without unbearable suffering. We've become so accustomed to controlling pain that we've forgotten how revolutionary this power really is, how miraculous it would have seemed to our ancestors. But the war against pain took humanity thousands of years to win, and every victory came at an enormous cost in human suffering and scientific sacrifice. This is the story of humanity's greatest medical breakthrough. This is the story of how we learned to fight our oldest enemy and why conquering pain changed not just medicine, but human consciousness itself. This is the story of pain and our endless, desperate quest to make it stop. Before we could fight pain, we had to understand what it was, and for most of human history, we got it completely wrong. Ancient civilizations believed pain was punishment from angry gods seeking vengeance for human sins. Invasion by malevolent evil spirits trying to possess the soul, or the direct result of moral failing and spiritual weakness. Pain wasn't seen as a medical problem to be solved through science and observation. It was seen as a spiritual crisis to be endured through prayer, sacrifice, and moral purification. The earliest humans had no choice but to accept pain as an inevitable, inescapable part of existence, as natural and unchangeable as sunrise and death. Archaeological evidence from prehistoric sites shows that our ancestors suffered tremendously from conditions that would be easily treatable today. Skeletons reveal broken bones that healed poorly, creating permanent deformities that would have constant pain. Infected wounds that never properly closed, leaving gaping sores that festered for years. Dental abscesses that must have caused excruciating, throbbing agony that never ended. Degenerative joint diseases that would have made every movement a torture, turning simple acts like walking or lifting into exercises in endurance. Yet these early humans developed remarkable psychological and physical resilience that modern people can barely comprehend. They had to. Without any effective pain relief, survival required the ability to function despite severe discomfort, to hunt and gather food while bones ached, to care for children while fighting constant pain. Hunter-gatherer societies developed complex rituals and practices that helped people cope with pain through community support, elaborate distraction techniques, and what we would now recognize as primitive but effective psychology. Ancient shamans and medicine people, the world's first healers and psychologists, understood intuitively that pain had both physical and emotional components that interacted in complex ways. They used sophisticated combinations of herbal remedies gathered from dangerous locations, ritual healing ceremonies that lasted for days, hypnotic music, and dancing that altered consciousness, and trance states that separated the mind from physical sensations. While these techniques couldn't eliminate pain, They often made it more bearable by changing people's relationship to it, teaching them to observe pain without being overwhelmed by it. Some prehistoric cultures practiced trepanation, drilling holes in the skull, using sharp stone tools, possibly to relieve severe headaches, treat head injuries, or release evil spirits believed to be causing mental anguish. Archaeological evidence suggests that many patients not only survived these brutal procedures, but lived for years afterward, indicating that some ancient healers had developed surprising surgical skills and post-operative care techniques. Despite having no anesthesia, no understanding of sterile technique, and no knowledge of anatomy, beyond what they could observe with their eyes. The ancient Sumerians, around 4000 BCE, were among the first civilizations to record systematic approaches to understanding and treating pain. Sumerian clay tablets, inscribed in cuneiform script, describe hundreds of remedies using plants, animals, and minerals to treat various painful ailments. They recognized that certain substances could reduce suffering, though they had no understanding of why these treatments worked or how pain was generated in the body. Their remedies were based entirely on trial and error, passed down through generations of healers who risked their lives experimenting with dangerous substances. Ancient Egyptian medicine, documented in detailed papyri dating back to 3000 BCE, showed remarkably sophisticated understanding of pain management for the time. Egyptian physicians, who were also priests and surgeons, used opium poppies that grew along the Nile River, willow bark, which contains salicin, the precursor to modern aspirin, and cannabis imported from distant lands to treat various types of pain. They performed complex surgeries including cataract removal, tumor excision, bone setting, and even rudimentary brain surgery. Though patients had to endure these procedures fully conscious, held down by multiple assistants while surgeons worked as quickly as possible. Egyptian medical texts reveal that ancient doctors understood pain came in different types and intensities, requiring different treatments and approaches. They distinguished between sharp stabbing pain, dull aching pain, burning pain that felt like fire, and throbbing pain that pulsed with the heartbeat, prescribing specific remedies for each type. This early pain classification system shows remarkable medical insight for its time and formed the foundation for pain assessment techniques still used today. Ancient Greek medicine, particularly the revolutionary work of Hippocrates, 460 to 370 BCE, began to separate pain treatment from religious belief and supernatural explanation. Hippocrates argued courageously that diseases, including painful conditions, had natural rather than supernatural causes that could be studied and understood through careful observation. This revolutionary idea laid the foundation for scientific medicine by suggesting that pain could be studied systematically, understood through reason, and treated through experimentation rather than prayer. Hippocrates and his followers documented the pain-relieving properties of many plants still used in modern medicine. They prescribed willow bark for headaches and fever, opium for severe pain and sleeplessness, and mandragora, mandrake, as a sedative for surgical procedures. Greek physicians developed the first systematic approach to pain assessment, teaching doctors to observe patients carefully, ask detailed questions about their symptoms, and record their observations for future reference. Ancient Greek philosophy also grappled with deeper questions about pain's meaning and purpose in human existence. Stoic philosophers like Epictetus, himself disabled and frequently in pain, taught that while physical pain was unavoidable in human life, emotional suffering was optional, that people could choose their response to pain and maintain mental tranquility even during severe physical agony. These philosophical ideas profoundly influenced how Western civilization thought about pain, suffering, and human resilience for the next 2,000 years. Roman medicine built systematically upon Greek foundations, while adding practical innovations driven by the constant military necessity of treating wounded soldiers on ancient battlefields. Roman army surgeons developed sophisticated techniques for treating traumatic injuries, extracting arrows and spear points, setting broken bones with splints and traction devices, and amputating severely damaged limbs. They couldn't eliminate pain, but they learned to work with incredible speed and efficiency to minimize the duration of suffering, often completing amputations in less than 2 minutes. Roman physicians like Galen, 129 to 216 CE, made crucial anatomical discoveries that advanced scientific understanding of how pain was generated and transmitted through the body. Galen performed systematic vivisections on living animals and dissections of human corpses, carefully mapping the nervous system and beginning to understand how pain signals traveled from injured tissues to the brain. His anatomical work remained the foundation of medical knowledge for over 1,000 years, influencing medical education well into the Renaissance period. Roman society also developed the first systematic medical use of opium for pain relief on a large scale. Roman physicians prescribed carefully prepared opium preparations for a wide range of painful conditions, from minor headaches to major surgical procedures. They recognized opium's tremendous power to eliminate pain, but also understood its dangerous addictive potential, writing detailed warnings about addiction, tolerance, and fatal overdose in their comprehensive medical texts. The fall of the Roman Empire marked the beginning of the Dark Ages in pain treatment, a tragic period when medical knowledge was lost and supernatural explanations returned to dominance. Medieval European medicine regressed significantly from Roman and Greek achievements, with Christian religious doctrine discouraging scientific inquiry into pain relief. The Catholic Church taught that pain was divine punishment for human sin and that suffering could be spiritually beneficial, bringing people closer to God through shared experience with Christ's crucifixion. This religious perspective actively discouraged medical research into pain relief, as alleviating suffering might interfere with God's will and prevent spiritual growth through suffering. Medieval patients endured horrific medical procedures without any effective anesthesia. Surgery was performed by barber surgeons who had no formal medical training, working as quickly as humanly possible while patients were held down by multiple strong assistants. Amputations were done with sharp saws and knives, immediately cauterized with red-hot irons to stop arterial bleeding. Dental procedures involved extracting infected teeth with crude iron forceps while patients remained fully conscious, often requiring several men to hold the patient still. Many patients died from shock, blood loss, or infection, leading medieval people to view medical treatment as often more dangerous than the original condition. Despite these severe limitations, some significant medieval advances in pain treatment did occur, primarily in the Islamic world where Greek and Roman medical knowledge was preserved and expanded. Medieval Islamic physicians, particularly during the Islamic Golden Age, 8th–13th centuries, maintained sophisticated medical libraries and continued systematic research into pain relief when European medicine had abandoned scientific inquiry. Islamic medical texts described advanced pain treatments using opium, cannabis, alcohol distillation, and surgical techniques that were far superior to anything available in medieval Europe. The Persian physician Avicenna, 980–1037 CE, wrote extensively about pain theory and treatment in his monumental medical encyclopedia, The Canon of Medicine, which became the standard medical textbook used in European universities for over 500 years. Avicenna classified different types of pain according to their causes, described the relationship between emotional state and pain perception, and recommended specific treatment protocols for various painful conditions. His work was more scientifically advanced than anything produced in medieval Europe and influenced medical practice throughout both the Islamic world and Christian Europe for centuries. Medieval Islamic surgeons also developed innovative anesthetic techniques that prefigured modern surgical anesthesia. Al-Zahrawi, 936–1013 CE, often called the father of modern surgery, described using narcotic-soaked sponges to induce unconsciousness before major operations. Patients would inhale vapors from sponges soaked in carefully prepared mixtures of opium, mandragora, cannabis, and other sedating substances, achieving a form of primitive general anesthesia that allowed surgeons to perform complex procedures on unconscious patients. The Renaissance period, 14th–16th centuries, brought renewed scientific interest in understanding and treating pain as European scholars rediscovered classical medical texts and began conducting systematic research again. Renaissance physicians started performing human dissections systematically, dramatically advancing anatomical knowledge and understanding of pain pathways through the nervous system. Artists like Leonardo da Vinci created incredibly detailed anatomical drawings based on human dissections, helping doctors better understand how injuries cause pain and how pain signals travel through the body. Renaissance explorers brought exciting new plants and substances from the Americas that significantly expanded the available arsenal of pain treatments. European physicians began experimenting with coca leaves from South America, which contain natural cocaine, various New World plants with analgesic properties, and refined techniques for preparing traditional opium and herbal remedies. The discovery of distillation techniques allowed physicians to create more concentrated and effective preparations of pain-relieving substances. However, Renaissance surgery remained brutally painful despite these advances in pain-relieving substances. Patients were given alcohol, opium preparations, or herbal mixtures that provided only limited relief from surgical pain. Most surgical procedures were still performed as quickly as possible while patients were physically restrained, with tragically high rates of death from shock, massive blood loss, and post-operative infection. The problem wasn't just finding substances that could reduce pain, it was finding ways to eliminate pain completely and safely during major surgical procedures. The 17th and 18th centuries saw gradual but important improvements in pain understanding and treatment as the scientific revolution brought new, experimental methods for studying pain systematically. Physicians began conducting controlled experiments to test different pain treatments objectively and document their effectiveness through careful observation and record-keeping. This represented a fundamental shift from traditional medicine based on authority and tradition to evidence-based medicine based on scientific experimentation. In 1664, English physician Thomas Willis published Anatomy of the Brain, which included groundbreaking research on the nervous system and pain transmission pathways. Willis's meticulous work helped establish that pain signals traveled through specific nerve pathways to the brain, rather than being caused by supernatural forces, imbalances in bodily humors, or mysterious vital forces. This anatomical understanding laid the scientific foundation for modern approaches to pain treatment and management. The 18th century brought significant advances in chemistry that dramatically improved the quality and effectiveness of pain medications. Chemists learned to extract and purify active compounds from medicinal plants, creating stronger, more reliable, and more predictable pain relievers than traditional herbal preparations. In 1804, German pharmacist Friedrich Serturner successfully isolated pure morphine from opium poppy resin, creating the first chemically pure pain-relieving alkaloid and opening the door to modern pharmaceutical development. But the real breakthrough that would transform pain treatment forever was still decades away. Despite these important advances in anatomy, chemistry, and pharmacology, major surgery remained impossibly painful for patients. Most patients still died from shock during operations, and those who survived often wished they hadn't due to the traumatic memory of conscious surgery. The problem wasn't just finding substances that could reduce pain, it was finding safe ways to eliminate consciousness completely during surgical procedures without killing the patient. The answer came from an unexpected source: chemistry experiments with gases that initially had nothing to do with medical treatment. In the late 18th century, chemists discovered nitrous oxide, laughing gas, ether, and other gases while investigating the properties of different chemical compounds. They noticed these gases had peculiar effects on consciousness and pain sensation when inhaled, causing euphoria, altered perception, and apparent insensitivity to pain. Joseph Priestley, who discovered nitrous oxide in 1772, and Humphrey Davy, who conducted extensive experiments with the gas, documented its remarkable pain-relieving properties. Davy, after inhaling nitrous oxide during a severe toothache, wrote prophetically in 1800, "It appears capable of destroying physical pain, and might probably be used with advantage during surgical operations." This was perhaps the first scientific suggestion that inhaled gases could provide surgical anesthesia, but it would be nearly 50 more years before anyone seriously attempted to act on this revolutionary insight. The breakthrough that changed medical history forever finally came in the 1840s through the determined work of several American physicians and dentists who began systematically experimenting with ether and other gases for surgical anesthesia. Crawford Long, a rural Georgia physician, performed the first recorded operation under ether anesthesia in 1842 when he removed a tumor from a patient's neck. But he didn't immediately publish his results or promote the technique to other physicians. William Morton, an ambitious Boston dentist, conducted the most famous and influential early demonstration of surgical anesthesia that would change medical history forever. On October 16, 1846, Morton administered carefully measured ether anesthesia to a patient undergoing tumor removal at Massachusetts General Hospital. The surgery was performed by John Collins Warren, a highly respected surgeon who had previously declared publicly that eliminating surgical pain was medically impossible and probably contrary to God's will. As Warren made his deliberate incisions into the patient's neck, the medical observers watched in stunned amazement. The patient remained completely unconscious and motionless. No screaming that had echoed through surgical theaters for centuries. No desperate thrashing against restraints. No signs of pain, awareness, or distress. The patient breathed peacefully as if in natural sleep while Warren carefully removed the tumor. When the operation was complete and the patient awakened with no memory of the procedure and no apparent discomfort, Warren turned to the stunned observers packed into the surgical theater and declared with barely contained emotion, "Gentlemen, this is no humbug." The age of surgical anesthesia had begun, and human suffering would never be the same. News of Morton's successful demonstrations spread with incredible speed around the world through medical journals, newspapers, and personal correspondence between physicians. Within months, surgeons in London, Paris, Vienna, and other major medical centers were performing operations under anesthesia using techniques based on Morton's demonstration. The technique was rapidly refined and improved, with chloroform and other anesthetic agents joining ether as safe options for eliminating surgical pain completely. The immediate impact was revolutionary beyond anything medicine had previously achieved in reducing human suffering. Surgical procedures that have been impossible due to patient shock and pain suddenly became routine operations. Surgeons could work slowly, carefully, and methodically instead of racing against time and patient endurance. Complex operations requiring hours of precise work became feasible for the first time in human history, opening entire new fields of surgery that had been unthinkable when patients had to remain conscious. But anesthesia also created unexpected new challenges and moral controversies that reflected deep-seated beliefs about pain and suffering. Some religious leaders argued passionately that eliminating pain interfered with divine will, particularly in childbirth, where labor pain was seen as God's punishment for Eve's original sin. Many patients were deeply afraid of anesthesia, viewing the unconscious state as dangerously similar to death and fearing they might not wake up. Others worried that experiencing unconsciousness might damage their souls or alter their fundamental identity. Early, anesthetic agents were also genuinely dangerous when administered by inexperienced physicians. Ether and chloroform could cause fatal complications including cardiac arrest, respiratory failure, and severe allergic reactions if not administered properly by skilled practitioners. Many patients died from anesthetic overdoses, adverse reactions, or complications during the vulnerable unconscious state. It took decades of experimentation and tragic mistakes to develop truly safe techniques for administering anesthesia and monitoring patients during surgery. Despite these serious risks and religious opposition, anesthesia spread rapidly throughout the medical world because it solved humanity's most pressing and universal medical problem. The ability to eliminate pain during surgery opened revolutionary new possibilities for treating conditions that had previously been considered completely hopeless. Surgeons began attempting increasingly complex and ambitious operations, pushing the boundaries of what medical intervention could achieve and dramatically expanding the scope of treatable conditions. The late 19th century brought rapid advances in understanding pain at the cellular and molecular level as scientists discovered that different types of pain were caused by different physiological mechanisms and therefore required different treatment approaches. The development of local anesthetics, like cocaine, discovered by Austrian ophthalmologist Karl Koller in 1884, allowed doctors to eliminate pain in specific body regions without causing unconsciousness, making minor procedures safer and more comfortable for patients. The discovery and synthesis of aspirin in 1897 by German chemist Felix Hoffmann at Bayer Pharmaceutical Company created the first truly effective oral pain reliever that was safe enough for widespread public use. Aspirin could effectively treat headaches, reduce fever, and alleviate various types of mild to moderate pain without the dangerous side effects and addiction potential of opium-based medications that had been the primary pain treatments for centuries. The 20th century revolutionized pain treatment through systematic scientific research, controlled clinical trials, and sophisticated pharmaceutical development. The discovery of endorphins in the 1970s revealed that the human body produces its own powerful pain-relieving chemicals, explaining why some people could tolerate pain better than others and opening entirely new avenues for treatment that worked with the body's natural pain control systems. World War I and World War II dramatically accelerated pain research as military physicians struggled to treat massive numbers of wounded soldiers effectively under battlefield conditions. These devastating conflicts led to major advances in trauma surgery, anesthesia techniques, blood transfusion, and understanding of psychological aspects of pain and trauma. Military doctors learned that pain had complex emotional and mental components that profoundly affected recovery, survival, and long-term Disability. The development of synthetic opioids, like morphine, codeine, hydrocodone, and eventually incredibly powerful drugs, like fentanyl, gave doctors precise pharmacological tools for managing severe pain in hospitalized patients. These medications could be carefully dosed and combined with other drugs to create comprehensive pain management protocols specifically designed for different types of medical conditions, surgical procedures, and patient needs. Modern anesthesia became incredibly sophisticated and safe, with multiple drugs used in carefully calculated combinations to eliminate pain, prevent muscle movement, induce unconsciousness, and block memory formation during surgery. Anesthesiologists became highly trained medical specialists who could safely keep patients unconscious for many hours during complex operations while carefully monitoring and maintaining all vital functions. The late 20th century brought revolutionary recognition that chronic pain was a legitimate medical condition in itself, not just a symptom of other diseases. Chronic pain affects over 100 million people worldwide and can persist for months or years long after original injuries have completely healed. This understanding led to the development of specialized pain clinics and comprehensive multimodal treatment approaches that combined medications, procedures, and behavioral therapies. Pain psychology emerged as a sophisticated field recognizing that pain perception is profoundly influenced by emotions, beliefs, expectations, past experiences, and social context. Cognitive behavioral therapy, meditation, biofeedback, and other psychological techniques proved remarkably effective for managing certain types of chronic pain, especially conditions where traditional medical treatments had failed. The 1990s and 2000s saw aggressive marketing of powerful opioid medications with false claims that these drugs were safe and non-addictive when used for legitimate pain treatment. This led to widespread prescribing of powerful opioids like OxyContin for relatively minor pain conditions, creating a devastating addiction crisis that continues to kill tens of thousands of Americans annually and has fundamentally changed medical approaches to pain treatment. The ongoing opioid epidemic has revealed the complex and dangerous relationship between effective pain relief and addiction potential. While opioid medications remain absolutely essential for treating severe acute pain and terminal illness, their overprescription and misuse has created millions of addicts and caused hundreds of thousands of preventable deaths. This crisis has forced medicine to completely reconsider approaches to pain treatment and develop safer alternatives. Current pain research focuses on understanding individual genetic and biological differences in pain perception and developing personalized treatment approaches tailored to each patient's unique physiology. Genetic testing can now predict how patients will respond to different pain medications, allowing doctors to choose the most effective treatments with minimal side effects and reduced addiction risk. Advanced brain imaging techniques like functional MRI allow scientists to observe pain processing in living human brains in real time, revealing exactly how pain signals are generated, transmitted, and interpreted by different brain regions. This research is leading to identification of new targets for pain treatment that could be more effective and dramatically safer than current medications. Interventional pain treatments have become increasingly sophisticated and targeted. Nerve blocks can eliminate pain in specific body regions for weeks or months. Spinal cord stimulators can interrupt pain signals before they reach the brain. Radiofrequency ablation can selectively destroy specific nerves that transmit chronic pain signals while leaving other functions intact. Alternative pain treatments are gaining rigorous scientific validation through controlled research studies. Acupuncture, once dismissed as placebo effect, has been shown to activate the body's natural pain-relieving systems and produce measurable changes in brain activity. Mindfulness meditation can alter brain activity in regions that process pain and reduce pain perception. Physical therapy and exercise programs are often more effective than medications for certain chronic pain conditions. Despite remarkable advances in understanding and treating pain, it remains an enormous medical and social challenge. Chronic pain affects over 100 million Americans and costs hundreds of billions of dollars annually in medical treatment, lost productivity, and disability payments. Many pain conditions still have no effective treatments, leaving millions of patients to suffer despite all of modern medicine's sophisticated advances. Current cutting-edge research explores revolutionary approaches to pain treatment that seemed like science fiction just decades ago. Gene therapy might eventually allow doctors to modify pain receptors or enhance the body's natural pain relief systems. Nanotechnology could deliver pain medications directly to specific tissues with minimal side effects. Advanced brain stimulation techniques might allow direct modulation of pain perception without drugs. Artificial intelligence is being applied to pain assessment and treatment selection with promising early results. AI systems can analyze complex patient data including genetics, brain imaging, pain history, and treatment responses to predict which treatments will be most effective for individual patients. Virtual reality is being used successfully to distract patients from pain during medical procedures and to provide immersive relaxation experiences for chronic pain management. The future of pain treatment will likely involve highly personalized approaches based on individual genetics, detailed brain imaging, and comprehensive pain phenotyping. Instead of one-size-fits-all treatments that often fail, patients may receive customized combinations of medications, procedures, and behavioral interventions specifically tailored to their unique pain mechanisms and psychological profiles. Regenerative medicine offers tremendous hope for treating pain at its source by actually repairing damaged tissues that generate chronic pain signals. Stem cell therapy, tissue engineering, and gene editing techniques might eventually allow doctors to heal injuries and diseases that currently cause lifelong chronic pain, potentially eliminating the need for long-term pain management. The study of pain has also revealed profound truths about human consciousness and the fundamental nature of suffering that extend far beyond medicine. Pain research has shown that the experience of pain is not simply a direct response to tissue damage, but a complex construction created by the brain that can be dramatically influenced by attention, emotion, belief, expectation, and social context. This understanding has philosophical implications that extend well beyond medical treatment. If pain is partially constructed by consciousness rather than being a pure physical sensation, what does this tell us about the nature of all human experience? How much of what we perceive as objective reality is actually created by our minds rather than existing independently in the physical world? Pain research has also highlighted the crucial importance of compassion and human connection in healing and recovery. Studies consistently show that patients experience significantly less pain when they feel supported, understood, and genuinely cared for by others. The simple act of holding someone's hand during a painful medical procedure can measurably reduce their suffering and improve their physiological response to treatment. Cultural attitudes toward pain vary dramatically around the world, revealing that pain perception and tolerance are profoundly influenced by social beliefs and cultural expectations. Some cultures view pain as a normal, acceptable part of life to be endured stoically without complaint, while others see any pain as unacceptable and demanding immediate medical intervention. These cultural differences significantly affect how people experience pain and respond to various treatments. The history of pain treatment reflects broader themes in human development and social progress. The eternal tension between accepting suffering as inevitable versus fighting courageously to eliminate it. The role of technology in reducing human suffering and the often unintended consequences of medical advances that solve one problem while creating new ones. Pain has shaped human evolution by serving as a crucial warning system that protects us from danger and promotes healing behaviors essential for survival. People born without the ability to feel pain, a rare genetic condition called congenital insensitivity to pain, often die young from injuries they don't notice and infections they don't recognize. Pain, despite its unpleasantness, serves essential biological functions that are crucial for human survival. Yet modern life has created new types of pain that our evolutionary pain systems weren't designed to handle effectively. Chronic stress, sedentary lifestyles, social isolation, and other features of contemporary life can create persistent pain conditions that serve no protective purpose and severely impair quality of life without providing any survival advantage. The conquest of acute pain through anesthesia and effective pain medications represents one of humanity's greatest achievements, comparable to the development of agriculture, the invention of writing, or the discovery of antibiotics, in its impact on reducing human suffering and improving quality of life. The ability to eliminate pain during surgery, childbirth, and medical procedures has reduced human misery on an enormous scale that's difficult to comprehend. But the story of humanity's relationship with pain is far from over. As medical science continues to extend human lifespan, more people live long enough to develop chronic pain conditions associated with aging and degenerative diseases. As life becomes increasingly complex and psychologically stressful, emotional and psychological forms of pain and suffering may become more prevalent and challenging to treat than traditional physical pain. The ongoing opioid crisis serves as a stark reminder that every solution creates new problems and unintended consequences. Our most powerful tools for eliminating pain can also create addiction, dependence, and new forms of suffering that may be worse than the original conditions they were designed to treat. The challenge for future medicine will be developing treatments that effectively relieve pain without creating additional problems or transferring suffering from one form to another. Perhaps most importantly, the history of pain treatment teaches us about the immense value of human ingenuity, compassion, and determination in addressing suffering. Every advance in pain relief, from ancient herbal remedies discovered through dangerous experimentation to modern surgical anesthesia that seemed impossible for millennia, represents someone's passionate determination to reduce another person's suffering, often at great personal risk and sacrifice. The next time you take a simple over-the-counter pain reliever for a headache, remember that you're benefiting from thousands of years of human effort to understand and conquer pain. That little pill represents countless experiments, failures, discoveries, and innovations by people who refused to accept that suffering was inevitable and devoted their lives to finding better ways to help others. When you undergo surgery and wake up comfortable instead of screaming in agony, remember that this medical miracle would have seemed completely impossible to every human who lived before. 1846. You re-experiencing something that billions of our ancestors could never have imagined: the complete, safe elimination of surgical pain through human ingenuity and scientific understanding. The war against pain continues today, and there are still many important battles to be won. Chronic pain, terminal illness, and various medical conditions still cause enormous suffering despite our best treatments and most sophisticated interventions. But the history of pain gives us solid reason for hope and optimism. Humanity has consistently found creative ways to reduce suffering throughout history, and there's no reason to believe we'll stop trying now. Pain may have been our oldest and most persistent enemy throughout human history, but it has also been one of our greatest teachers about consciousness, resilience, and the human condition. Through trying to understand and treat pain, we've learned about anatomy, physiology, psychology, pharmacology, and consciousness itself. Our ongoing battle against pain has driven many of the greatest advances in medical science and human knowledge. The conquest of pain stands as powerful proof of human determination to reduce suffering and improve life for others, often strangers we will never meet. It reminds us that seemingly impossible challenges can be overcome through persistence, creativity, collaboration, and refusal to accept the unacceptable. Most importantly, it shows us that compassion, the fundamental desire to relieve others' suffering, is one of the most powerful forces driving human progress and making life meaningful.